Hello there, everybody. Welcome along to EFL Debate, the League One podcast. And I'm joined by a very happy Mr. Matt Farley from the Stevenage Football Club Podcast.
I am buzzing, Gab. Come on, the Borough.
Absolutely. I saw you get up to playing a bit of football on the pitch in that little in that bubble. That must have been fun, mate.
Yeah, do you know what? It was brilliant. I actually got asked the other day, and I got the message through, and I was like, do you know what? I'm going to do it. Got represent our Stevenage Football Club, so did it. And I had a bit of a niggly knee, right? And I was a little bit like, oh, I don't want to go too mad, right? And I just thought, do you know what? I'm doing this for Stevenage Football Club, and did the job, got the win, yeah, it was brilliant. It was really weird. It was 1-1, and then we had to do a race to end. So I raced, won. It was brilliant. It was so good.
Oh, marvellous. Absolutely love it. So got to talk about that start. I mean, 9 points from the first 3 games. You must be over the moon with that. Do
you know what? I didn't think I could ever get more happy watching Stevenage Football Club in this division. What a start. It's just been absolutely incredible. And I've been so proud because, you know, we've come up to League One. We know the level. We know there's a difference. We know that, you know, there's some big clubs in this division. I think we said to you on our platform, Gab, you know, we're going to have to do all the things that we're really good at. And I think what we've done is we've recruited the team. We've upgraded the team. So we've got better players playing our style at a better level, which means that we're better at what we do. And I think that's why we've been so successful. I think that's why we're going to continue to be successful in League One. But, you know, to win the opener 1-0, to, you know, knock Watford out the cup and then beat Shrewsbury the way that we did. And really that 2-0 win on Saturday could have been 3 or 4, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, well, they only had 6 shots all game, Matt, as well, which was the amazing thing. I mean, yeah, you had the lead for over half an hour in that game, and still they only mustered 6 shots and only 2 of them on target, which I think speaks to how well you defended.
That's it, and also to go along with the opening game, you know, which was a great day, by the way, when we kicked off League One football that day. I had to keep pinching myself that we were playing League One. But, you know, those 2 matches, Northampton and Shrewsbury, more so in the second 45 minutes, completely controlled, bossed the game. The game management in both those games has been brilliant and really, really showed the level that we're at with these new players in League One. And then last night, I mean, what to say about it? One of the greatest nights I've seen in recent times. It was just, you know, to play in a second v third game in League One and, you know, 2 undefeated teams. I feel just incredibly proud to say that we are in League One and went 1-0 up. Again, controlled the game, showed that we're a really good level in this division, which is surreal. They get the goal, and then we talk about him. Big goal, Reedy. Does it all the time. Picks up. It
was a belter as well from outside the box.
Great strike. Does it all the time. 2-1. And again, probably could have scored. He missed a 1-on-1 prior to that, so should have won by more. But what a start. What a team. People are going to write us off about the fact that we can't maybe be in the top half of the table, but I believe we can do it. We've got the players, we've got the manager. You know, people still forget we're missing massive players. You know, we've got a 100% win ratio, and we haven't got Elliot List or Terence or Sweeney or Harry Anderson or Luther Wilding at the minute. It's like, you know, still winning these games with these injuries. So we're here. We've had a brilliant start. 9 points out of 9. Joint top in third. It's proudest things. And, yeah, what a start to the season we've had.
Matt, who are the ones that have stepped up in the absence of those injured players for you?
Wow, I mean, pretty much everyone, really. I mean, in terms of Terence, the back line that we've got at the minute has been a real focal point. I mean, Nathan Thompson has been absolutely tremendous. The guy hasn't put a foot wrong. He's been brilliant every game. Look, Pidge is Pidge. Pidge is brilliant every game. Finley Burns has been just what a player he is. I mean, how have we got him? Like, I know we're a good side, and you know, we're on a bit of a crest of a wave at the minute, you could say. But what a player! He's been brilliant. So we haven't really noticed that Terence is missing because those defensive players have been so good.
Yeah.
And you know, equally when Kane Smith's needed to come on and play, he's been brilliant. He played last night because Luther's got an injury. He was brilliant. Yeah, I mean, you hardly notice that those injured players are missing. Aaron Presley's been great, and Jamie Reid's been great. So,
yeah, do you know what? He surprised me a little bit, Aaron Presley, because I think he came in. Obviously, you don't have the career he's had at youth level, being at Brentford, a Premier League club, without having something about you. But I suppose a couple of spells that he's had in League One hasn't had it all his own way, I think it's fair to say. And yet he's really hit the ground running at Stevenage. So all credit to Steve Evans for getting a tune out of him.
I think what it is he's shown a little bit of ability, because at Accrington, although they got relegated, he did score some goals. So he's shown that in a poor setup that he's got the ability to do well. I think what it is with us, and why I think he'd do really well for us, is it's the style that we play with. You know, we're direct. We need the big target man, someone that's big in the box, and he ticks all those boxes as our, you know, target man that's spearheading the attack. So, you know, he's off the mark now. He's got a goal against Shrewsbury. So, I think he's going to be a really important player for us, and I think he's proved it already that actually the way that we play, it suits him down to a T. So, I like Aaron. We've nicknamed him the Press. He's got a new nickname at the team. It's become a bit of a fan favourite with the Press. So, yeah, he's been really important to the start of our season, and he's absolutely vital to the way that we play in League One.
Yeah, absolutely. What's the formation been this season? Because there was some talk that it was going to switch to a 4-4-2 diamond, but you obviously played quite a bit of the 5-3-2 again in pre-season. How's it looked so far?
Yeah, it's been 3-5-2. So it's been the exact same formation from last year. Again, we've got an upgraded team playing the same style, same formation, but doing it better because they're better players in a better division. So that's it in a nutshell. We've played 3-5-2. We've been playing the three players in the middle, and then we've somewhat used Jordan Roberts, who, you know, we've spoken about a lot, me and you, Gab, about being a League One player. He's kind of been the floater in between the strikers and the midfield. But yeah, 3-5-2, it's worked a treat. And I think the one thing that we do with that formation is we kind of have this ability with 3-5-2 and the way that we play to kind of suffocate teams and get them to play our style of football. And in the opening 3 League One matches that we've played, we've been able to do that to the 3 teams that we've played. So yeah, 3-5-2 worked a treat, and yeah, it's been a massive recipe for our success early on in League One.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I want to talk to you about Dan Butler, Matt, because he's someone who's shown the propensity at times to kind of cut inside a little bit from left wing back and sometimes sort of curl a shot at goal, which is interesting that he's kind of been able to add that dynamic to his game, because obviously you'd think of him more as someone that's going to hug the touchline and maybe put a cross into the box.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, Dan has been brilliant. I think, do you know what, it's really weird actually, Gab. There's a few players that I watch play for us in League One. Dan Butler's one. All the Thompsons, you could say, are the other players. And I watch them, and they do things for us that they've been doing in League One for years. I kind of get a little giddy moment of, oh my God, like they're doing that for us in League One. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Dan Butler's that type of player. He's been brilliant going forward. He offers real kind of tenacity down that left side of the flank. Delivery's great. And he has had a couple of moments where he's had a shot. He had a shot against Shrewsbury where he nearly scored in that position. But he's been absolutely vital. And another thing about Dan as well is, I remember when we first got him, and we were over the moon, League One level player, playing the Championship as well. And I think there was a few people saying that great player, but defensively he needs a bit of work at times. But I haven't seen that at all. I mean, defensively, I actually think Dan Butler's been better defensively than he has been offensively. So we worked out a statistic where a lot of the play that other teams have gone down the right side rather than the left. I think it works out 70-30. So Dan Butler has been a really good player in these opening 3 league games that we've played. So quality player, on the ball, keeps the ball well, gets forward well. Defensively, he's been brilliant. A top quality player that we've got there. And I'm really excited to see how he keeps going for us in League One at that left wing back role.
Yeah, well, that sounds really exciting. You must be a lot more optimistic even than you were before the start of the season that Stevenage could have a really big year this year. But you don't want to get too, I mean, I was going to say you don't want to get too carried away, but it's Matt Farley, right?
Mate, that's it. Like, you know me, right? You know me. I'm the most positive Stevenage Football Club in the world, right? The fan of the club. Yeah. But do you know what? It's absolutely brilliant at the minute. It's like we're living in a bit of a dream. I mean, I believe that we've got a team here to be very competitive, right? And when the fixture list come out, I think we all saw an opportunity to have a really good start. We looked at Northampton, Shrewsbury and Cambridge on paper and thought, you know what? There's room there to pick up points. We've done that. It's unreal to see us third, joint top, 9 points, 100% win ratio. I'm so proud of the team. I'm so proud of the staff, the manager, what they've put together. Because what we've done is, we all talk about being joint top and third, but we've got 9 points in the bag. We've nearly got a quarter of the amount that you need to stay up. So we've achieved that in the opening 3 matches, which, in my mind, if we can keep going really well, that hopefully, fingers crossed, touch wood, we're going to be a League One club next season, minimum. But I really believe in this team. And do you know what? A lot of people have said to me, there's a lot of big clubs in this division, and there are. But why can't we go and be up there and compete? There's room for it. There's room for a couple of teams to do it. And if you look at the statistics, 80% of sides in the Football League that start in the top 7 normally stay there. So can we be one of the 80% in League One? Yeah, I believe we can. Why not? We've got the manager, we've got the squad, we've got the players. So, yeah, look, it's brilliant to see him there. It's brilliant to be undefeated. It's brilliant to have three games, 3 wins, 9 points, joint top. Honestly, I'm so proud of him, and I just can't get this smile off my face at the minute. I'm so happy with how we're doing and how we started.
Absolutely. I know you've got to head off to work now, Matt, but it's been so lovely to have you on the show and look forward to catching up again soon, mate.
Look, Gav, absolute pleasure. Up the bar up. We're going to be up there, my man. You keep an eye on us. But, no, look, you know me, an absolute pleasure to come on here and talk about our Stevenage Football Club in League One. Again, Gav, I have to keep pinching myself that we're a League One club and League One team. But no, look, thanks for having me on, buddy. It's been great to have a chat. And yeah, keep your eye on us this season. We're going to do big things.
Absolutely, I will do. Cheers, mate. I'd like to bring in Adam Parks from the Lowdown podcast. How are you, Adam?
Less happy than Matt.
I think that would be the case regardless of the results. 3 straight defeats for Leyton Orient to start the season, but a bit of fight shown last night at Wickham with 10 men. Came very close to getting a result there.
I think we've discussed in the past last year that you didn't expect Northampton to come through the way they did last year with the injuries they had. And I think we're having a Northampton-esque season at the moment. We've got a lot of injuries, and to play like we did last night, there was a lot of pride in that, going down to 10 men. Questionable referee again. But yeah, it's not been the best start. You won't see me jumping for joy, but I am a happy clappy, just like Matt. And I believe in the squad that we've got and the manager we've got. And I'm sure once people start coming back with some decent fitness levels, then we'll be okay.
What have performances been like so far? Because I know in the first half against Portsmouth, okay, you went 2-0 down, but apparently, you almost had the better of that first half of football, and maybe you weren't far off. So it doesn't feel like this is an Orient team that's a million miles off. It feels like you've been competitive for certain spells in your games, but just haven't quite been able to put the points together yet.
Yeah, I think in all the games, there's been them moments where silly mistakes have happened. I think generally we played quite well against Charlton away. You know, it was only a 1-0 defeat. El Mazzuni was the best player on the pitch from both teams. You know, so we've got quality there. Portsmouth, we had our chances in the first half, although not many, but at this level, you get less and punish it. You know, the mistakes are punished, aren't they? So, yeah, I mean, going in at 2-0 and then conceding straight after the break as well wasn't the best start to the second half. And then yesterday, same thing, really. I mean, the performance, we outplayed Wycombe. If anyone had watched that game, they would have said that they, you know, second half especially, that they were a team down to 10 men. And the way that the fans reacted at the end to the squad, it kind of says a lot about where we are as a club. So let's judge Leyton Orient after 10, 15 games and not 3. Just going off of what Matt said about the start to their season and playing Northampton, Shrewsbury and Cambridge, we've had to play Charlton, Portsmouth and another team relegated from the Championship not long ago. So they're not bad teams that we've had to start with. We should have won last night. And if we hadn't had the Happy sent off for a very weak red card, you know, we probably would have won quite handsomely last night, to be honest.
What do you think can be done to sort of iron out those individual errors that you spoke about? You know, maybe sort of held you back a little bit. Okay, refereeing was what got in your way last night, but you know, in terms of cutting out those individual errors, that seems like the key to turning results around.
We've got an issue with our goalkeeper, right? There's nothing really that Sam Howes did wrong last night in the game. The third goal, yeah, he kind of flapped it across, but he made a couple of really good saves. He commanded his box, and his kicking was good. But when you lose a player like Lawrence Figueroa, who marshals and organises the defence like he did, I don't, you know, even we can talk about Omar Beckles being League One quality as much as you like, but you know, Figueroa was the organiser. And when you lose Sol Bryn, who obviously just spent a whole season in League Two,
sure,
straight away, you're losing quality in that position. So, you know, it's going to affect your defence.
Is Bryn in the whole season?
No, he's not. It was supposed to be a lot worse than what it is, but there was news last night that's given out that he should be back within the next few weeks. So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, you lose that component to that back five, and that's a big loss. And I think we're feeling that. Do I think our defence is good enough? I think it's good enough not to get relegated, but I do think we potentially need to get 1 or 2 more bodies in, especially if we keep getting suspensions and silly mistakes happening.
Yeah, that certainly makes sense. I mean, in terms of the goalkeeping situation, I feel like you've got a slightly awkward situation between now and, excuse me, Sol Bryn returning, because you've brought in Sam Howes, and I feel like if you were to bring in an emergency goalkeeper in now on some sort of short-term loan deal, it would almost be a knock to Sam Howes' confidence, because it's like, well, why have you brought me in here? But I've spoken to Wealdstone fans, and they've maybe questioned whether Sam Howes is quite ready for League One level. So that does leave Orient in a slightly difficult predicament to negotiate for the next 2 weeks between now and Sol Bryn returning, because, you know, is Sam Howes going to be able to prove himself ready for League One in behind what you've described as a slightly erratic defence so far?
He's not ready for League One. You know, he wasn't brought in to be the number one, right? If he was ready for League One, then Sol Bryn wouldn't have come in on loan. But he's been thrust into this position, which is only going to be good experience in the long run for him. I can see that there's a decent keeper there. I think it's quite natural for a fan base to focus on that missing piece, if you know what I mean. And, you know, Lawrence Figueroa, any club that would have someone of his quality, now not playing in the Premier League, but in a Premier League squad, you can't just lose that. And Sam Howes has had to come into Sol Bryn's boots in the last couple of weeks, and he wouldn't have been expecting that either. So, you know, I think there's some silly comments made around the fan base about the quality of his keeping. I think he was brought in to grow as a keeper. He's still quite young. You know, keepers don't get to their peak until, early 30s, mid 30s. So I think there's loads of time for the lad to really bed in. The fee wasn't astronomical, so it's not a big risk for the club.
Yeah,
right now.
I suppose the question though, Paxi, would it have been? And I appreciate I'm saying this with hindsight, because there's another world in which Solbrin played all 46 games, and we're not even having this conversation. But would it have been wiser to have gone for maybe an experienced backup, someone that's just maybe a little bit more of a safe pair of hands to have had as your number two? Now, whether Orient could have been in the market for that is a different question. Maybe you might not have had the money for that, but that would have seemed to me like maybe a safer option than taking a chance on someone stepping up from doing okay in the National League.
I think you've got a problem with our budget,
Sure.
because we've obviously kept some players that were out of contract, and I'm guessing that they were on more money than they were last year.
Sure.
And potentially one or two of those won't make that step up very well, and we may have given them too big a contract to think about who we can get in. Jordan Graham won't be on small money. Dan Agyei won't be on small money. Joe Pigott will be on League One money. Ethan Galbraith will be on good money. Darren Prattley, even at his age, will be. So when you look at the budget, to get in an experienced goalkeeper, which will be a premium, let's be fair, especially at League One level, you're going to have to pay for it. And whilst there may be some half decent, early 30s, mid 30s keepers that are maybe number 2 or number 3 in a Championship squad or a Premier League squad, you're still going to have to pay for it. So do I think we've done the cheap thing? Yes. Do I think it's going to backfire on us? No. And, we can always hope for Lawrence Vigor on an emergency month loan, can't we?
That'd be nice, wouldn't it? So I want to talk to you about the Dan Agyei situation, because that was quite unfortunate, because he got injured very quickly after he signed. I mean, that's another thing that's gone against Richie Wellens, isn't it?
I don't really know what's going on, and we're going to talk about it in our podcast when we record straight after this, but the injuries in the warm-ups, how could you have 3 league games and before all 3 games someone has got injured? We got Shaq Ford on loan just before the game yesterday.
Highly rated, actually, Paxi. Yeah.
Yeah. But he's got injured in the warm-up yesterday.
Oh, you're joking?
No. And then the game against Portsmouth, someone was out as well, and so every game someone's dropped out. So they're not doing anything potentially more different than they did last year, when we had a lot of players play a lot of games. There weren't really any big injuries last season. So something somewhere has gone wrong, and maybe they've pushed them too hard. Maybe they've gone up a level, so they felt like they've had to push them a little bit further. But it can be just bad luck, and this is where I think we're at right now. Back to Dan Agyei, you just have to now think of him as a January signing, and that's probably where we're at. So if we can accumulate 25 to 30 points by Christmas, and then we get a fit Dan Agyei in for January, then I'm quite confident the Orient will probably hit around 55 to 60 points. I still think we'll be safe. And no matter what Matt Farley says, sorry, Matt, I love your optimism. I think they will hit a buffer at some point, and I still think we'll be above them in the league. That will bite me in the backside, I'm sure. But I still believe we'll be above Stevenage in the league.
Okay, interesting. That's a hot take for us. I look forward to getting you both on together, so we can have a fun chat about that. I want to bring in Joe Beardsall from Red All Over soon, but I just want to a couple more questions for you, Paxi, before I let you go, because I know you've got to get on with your own podcast. First of all, how big is the pressure on Joe Pigott, the other striker you brought in now? Dan Agyei's got injured, and second of all, are you still? Presumably, you're still confident based on what you've seen that Orient are going to get the points they need.
Joe Pigott is not playing in a system that helps him. I think yesterday we played a 3-5-2, 5-3-2 with Sotirio kind of playing around him, which kind of helped a little bit. But he's still getting up to speed. He's not fit enough, and he hasn't had a chance. He hasn't had a chance to take, or even have a chance to miss. So Joe Pigott to me isn't blowing the doors off, but it might be tactical less than the player. But then, the Pompey fans said that it might have been because of the tactics they employed and where they played him last year that they didn't see the best of him. So maybe it is the player. We'll see long term with that. But I think. What was the second question, Gab? Because you got me on a joke.
Just the reason. What are the reasons to be optimistic for Leyton Orient at the moment?
There's 43 games to go. Some Orient fans would turn around and say, "Well, there's 43 games to suffer." They're the most hardened Orient fans that are ready to go home and away and just moan for 46 games of the season. I can't see us not beating a lot of teams. If we played Wycombe with 11 men, we would have beaten them quite handsomely, and it would have kick-started our seasons. But you got to have building blocks, right? And the first 2 games we lost, we didn't score a goal. We scored 2 last night. We played really well. We had more of the possession. Everything was going. It's just mistakes, just silly mistakes. And at some point, those mistakes will stop happening because Richie Wellens won't allow that to happen. I just really wish that Richie Wellens would stop getting sent off. So he's been booked, and now he's been sent off after the whistle, as was Paul Terry last night, as well as Dan Happy being.
I wonder what the boundaries, the time where you can no longer send someone off, whether the referee would meet Richie.
Well, it's anywhere within the perimeter of the game, wherever the referee is, you can be sent off at any point. But it's also
if they had a pint together after the game.
Well, I think there might be a limit there. But just so you're interested. Just if you're not aware of this, if a coach or a manager gets sent off during the game or after the game, the EFL has basically made it a stipulation this year they cannot be interviewed after the game by any media or press.
Oh, interesting. Didn't know that.
That's why Simon Morris did the post-match interview last night. So straight after the game, it's not allowed. So that might be a little tidbit for you to take forward.
Right, thank you very much. Well, listen, Parksy, it's been such a pleasure having you on the show. All the best with the Lowdown podcast. Everyone go get subscribed to it as well for this season, and hopefully catch you again soon, mate.
No worries. Thanks for having us on.
Cheers, pal. I'd like to bring in Joe Beardsall from Red All Over. Thanks for waiting, Joe. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I wish you'd have brought me on after that 7-0 win against Port Vale, not after we've just been beat by Peterborough 3-1. But, I'm here. So.
Absolutely. Well, I suppose now we've got a bit more of a range from to sort of reflect on in terms of Barnsley start to the season, because I think it's fair to say it's been a mixed bag. Where do you sort of lie with it all?
Yeah, kind of, I would say what I'd expect, but I didn't expect a 7-0 win on opening day, to be fair. But what I'd expect in terms of the up and down of it and the inconsistency, new manager coming in, Neil Collins, quite a lot of change after the, just narrowly missing out on promotion by, the skin of his teeth in that playoff final against Sheffield Wednesday. There's been quite a lot of change at Barnsley over the summer, quite a bit of frustration from fans because obviously you always want to keep your team together. You want to have the same side, particularly when you've done so well the previous season. So it is a little bit of a rebuild, not as big as probably the season before, but it clearly showed last night against Peterborough that there's still a long way for us to go. There's still a lot of room for improvement, particularly defensively. We look we look quite vulnerable at the minute, and we're going to have to really work on that if we want to be pushing at the top end of the table.
Yeah, I watched a bit of Red All Over after the 3-1 loss to Peterborough, Joe, and it seemed like there was a case for people saying they actually wanted to see Jordan Williams go back to right wing back. Is that a school of thought that you would sort of subscribe to?
Yeah, I think Jordan started the season well. But it would help. I think if we can get him at right wing back, he's obviously really good going forward as well for us, and offers a lot of pace. I just think it's obviously new faces in, new manager, trying to implement his style. It's taken a little bit of time. Casper Lapata is as new centre back, who's basically the replacement for Mads Andersen at the minute. He's stepped in. He's been brilliant, but it's just that sort of, I guess, getting it together and everybody learning to play together again. When you lose the likes of Mads Andersen and Bobby Thomas, like they were two of the best players in League One last season. Yeah. Like it's not easy to replace that. And you can't expect new lads to come in and just be absolutely spot on and do the same thing and play to the same level straight away. So I think the biggest frustration for me as a Barnsley fan as a minute is it's similar to last season in the sense of we're rebuilding a bit at the start of the season. We're finding his feet. And are we going to take too long to find his feet? And again, then we're in the last push. I think we will come good. but it's how quickly we can get it together and come good to whether we're going to be challenging again for a top 6 spot.
Yeah, that certainly makes sense. Do you think that there's going to be room in the budget for Barnsley to bring in an experienced head in defence? Because it feels like maybe that's what's missing at the moment, a bit of an organiser, someone who can keep things on an even keel. But it's hard to get that at this stage of the window, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to say because I know that obviously when we got relegated down to League One, we know that finances had to be reassessed, and we had to make some cuts in terms of changes and stuff, and the club were, sort of made it aware that, we were sort of, trying to save some money and trying to do things on a tighter budget, as you'd expect. Yeah, obviously there's been some sales over the summer. Matt Anderson to Leyton, Brad Collins went to Coventry. So you'd think there might be a little bit of cash there, possibly. I think that we should really be looking possibly to try and strengthen. We have brought in a new lad from the French league whose name I haven't learnt yet, but I'm just going to call him by his first name, which is Maul, and I will learn it by hopefully by the time he has his debut. But so if he's a decent defender, there's a chance there. We've also got Conor McCarthy, who he was injured, so there's other players that could come in that are injured at the minute. I think a big part of it is Barnsley have got a few key injuries. I mean, Luke O'Connell, first name on the team sheet, and he's
I mean, you
not
say
well
that,
at the
but
minute.
you beat Port Vale 7-0 without Luke O'Connell. So I mean,
7-0 results can be deceiving. That 7-0. I mean, at half time, me and the guys who sit near me were all just like, how are we winning this game 2-0? Because we just didn't start well. Vale started really well, and they were the better team for the first 25 minutes. Right. And so it was just a case of we were very clinical. Devante Cole was, on fire that day, doing brilliant, and he started the season really well, which is great. And then second half, they kind of just sort of fell apart a little bit, and we just sort of took full advantage. But yeah, as I said after the game, usually in past years I would have got really giddy and be like, right, we're going to win league. But I've matured a little bit. So I was like, actually, no, I would much prefer to win 10 games 1-0 than 1 game 7-0, because we all knew that there was still, on the performance, you could see there was still things we really needed to improve on. Bristol Rovers away, a 1-1 draw. Bristol should have won that. If I'm being totally honest, yeah, Bristol Rovers should have won that. We were quite lucky to get away with a draw. I think they were really strong. And then Peterborough, we did play a lot better, actually. So that scoreline maybe doesn't reflect actually how the game went. It was two really good sides. For about 50, 60 minutes, we played really well. Obviously took the lead. Peterborough.
What did you get right in that first hour then, Joe, that maybe kind of fell apart after
we attacked? We attacked, so they couldn't attack as much. And Liam Roberts, who's in our net, was absolutely outstanding. So was their keeper, Nicholas. I can't remember his name.
Bilo Kapic.
That's the one. Yeah, he was brilliant as well. So I think it was tale of two keepers, both sides having a real go at each other. But I think, obviously Roberts pulled off some great saves for us. And it was a case of, I think we sort of attacked more. And then when we scored, for some reason, we decided to sit back, and that really did not work for us. We sat back, and Peterborough just took the time. They were very patient, as we know, experienced side at this level, and then picked the moment to carve through us. And within 2 minutes, we were 2-1 down.
Because if I think of Barnsley at their best last season, I don't remember. I've watched you a few times. I don't really remember there being a point where you scored and then sat back. It just felt like a case of, well, more of the same. Let's keep the intensity going, lads. So you don't want to kind of drop off too much from that, do you?
Yeah, I think a big part of that is losing James Norwood, though, if I'm honest. I think James Norwood, he's just one of those players that's got a lot of character. And when we went 1-0 up, him and Devante Cole would be like, come on then, let's get that second goal. I mean, how many times he went and scored the second? Yeah.
Yeah, do you know, I think it's probably a relief from the board's point of view that literally the day after the Norwood sale happened, Barnsley won 7-0. And I reckon all the fans almost forgot about it. But which you would do.
I'm not sure, but
well, okay, but it certainly changes the dynamics of things a little bit with a 7-0 win, as opposed to if you'd lost, things could have got quite toxic.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, it did sort of smooth over things for at least a week. But I think that James Norwood was such a big character for Barnsley last season. We saw in the playoff final, he came on. We've got 10 men. he nearly went and won it himself. He was, you know, it was just on fire, and he's everything that Barnsley fans want to see. He attacks, he presses so aggressively with such intensity. You know, he terrifies defenders when he's running at them to try and press for the ball. That's the sort of football we love to see. So I think losing him, I understand. You know, he's gone to obviously older. I imagine I think it was a 2-year deal. So for him at his age, probably.
Though that's the strange thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's some debate about that because I think Collins said, you know, there was sort of, I think Collins said in an interview that, you know, it was one of those where he was offered a decent deal, I think. So I'm not sure of obviously everything that went off there, but I think it would have been really great for us to keep him. And I think it's hard because I'm not saying the other lads who are coming in are not going to do a great job for us, but it's just difficult because he was such a big character for us and he lifted the fan base, and it kind of has just, I guess, deflated a lot of us a little bit.
And the other thing is, just to add to that, Joe, you kind of want to feel like if you can accept one area of this Barnsley team having a bit of a drop off, but you've got to make sure that another area remains strong enough to keep everything on an even keel. Whereas if you've got two areas of the team that are weakened, that is a little bit of a difficult thing to manage, possibly.
Yeah, well, I think you look at it before the Norwood moved on. You're looking at it and you're thinking, attack stronger. You've signed Max Waters, you've signed Andy Dallas, who was, you know, brilliant for Chesterfield. Midfield stronger. You've got Callum Styles back, at least, and you know, for now, whether he'll go before the transfer window, I don't know, but he's come in. So your midfield stronger again, and arguably I think we had one of the best midfields last season in the league. And then it's just your defence. You've just got to try and obviously plug those gaps in terms of the keeper and the two centre halves. But yeah, Norwood going. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I still think we've got a real good chance of being successful this season. I just think he could be. Yeah, I would have really tried to keep him if we could have done at Barnsley, even for just the one season, because I think he was really important for us.
I remember the impact he made in the playoff final as well, like just changed the game really. So I can see why there's a lot of disappointment just because of that intensity that he brings to the game. So hopefully other players can step up. But I think you're right to say it's a bit of a transitional season for Barnsley, and I think you do well to finish in the top 6 again by the looks of things. Is that kind of how you're feeling based on the first 3 games?
I mean, we've still got a great team. Obviously, Luke O'Connell's missing at the minute. When we get him back, I think it'll be a huge boost for us.
Sure.
I think that once we find his feet, probably after 10, 15 games, we'll hit a stride and we'll probably be there or thereabouts. I think Neil Collins seems like a really good gaffer, and I think he'll do well for us. Just needs a bit of time to implement his style. So I'm still fairly confident of the season. I think it's been a mixed bag start. Obviously, a 7-0 win, you're like, wow, brilliant. Just do that every week, lads. Nice. Do it for 45 more games and we'll be there. But, we all know it's not that simple. It's a bit of a tricky one. Obviously, the Peterborough game, you're going to lose some matches. They're a really good side. They'll probably be up there. So I think for us, we'll be there or thereabouts. It's just a difficult one because I guess from a Barnsley fan point of view, your expectations naturally just go up a little bit when you've been in the playoff final the season before. You kind of think, go on, next time then let's go for automatics. Let's make sure we're in the top 6 again. And football doesn't always work that way. And, there's lots of changes in the summer. Players leave, managers leave, things change. And I think it's just, we've just got to kind of, I guess, look at where we're at and think, okay, if we're challenging for top 6 again, we're doing really well. So, we've got to give Neil Collins time to get things right and to implement his style.
Yeah, well, let's hope he can do that. Joe, thank you for taking time out of your schedules to join us. What have you got planned for Red All Over for this season and beyond?
just having a natter about Barnsley as always. So you can find us on YouTube, Red All Over. We just have a good old chat about Barnsley. We talk about the other teams as well. So if we're playing you, go check us out. And we'll sort of we try to take as red tinted glasses off as much as possible to praise the opposition when they're deserving of it. So we'll continue to try and do that through the season.
Absolutely.
It's all fun.
Brilliant stuff. Well, thanks for joining us, Joe. Thanks to you for watching at home. This has been EFL Debate, the League One podcast, and we'll see you again very soon.